Hey everybody, Brayden here. Welcome back to another episode of my Road to Chess Mastery. And today we're going to be covering Game 3. And I am currently on a 8-game winning streak. So things have been going well in my favor. I believe it's 8. Is it 8? Actually, it might be more. The number will be on the screen. I'm trying to remember. I played... Yeah. No. 10. 10 game streak. Anyways, okay. We're on a streak and we're doing quite well. And now we're playing with the white pieces. Let's continue into the game. E4, C5, knight F3, D6, and D4. So we're going to the exact same line that we played last time. We ended up playing in the last tournament as well. And I ended up playing with the white pieces in the Sicilian and winning. C takes, knight F6, and knight C3, G6. Nothing has changed. Bishop to E3, bishop G7, F3, castles, queen to d2, knight to c6. Nothing has changed. I last time played bishop e2, much more modest move. This time I was feeling a bit more aggressive and I played bishop to c4, which is definitely a more aggressive approach, going for the attack of the f7 pawn. And after bishop to c4, we see a6, castles long, bishop to d7, and h4. So again, it's pretty similar to last time, except my bishop's on c4, and there are some b5s in the air from my opponent. Of course, after h5, I think h5 makes a lot of sense. The whole point is after g4 you ignore it, where after takes you can play knight takes, and this is surprisingly hard to break down. But I just played the casual move bishop to b3. I thought this was necessary here, and I stand by that. It's just a natural move, similar to like playing king b1. King b1 is also a very natural move, where after rook c8 you really want to just kind of tuck that bishop away because it's undefended on the open file. You don't want any discoveries happening, even if they're good or bad. Might as well just avoid them, because it's better to preemptively make the move than wish you made the move earlier when you are later on and miss a tactic. But okay, bishop to b3, b5, and knight takes c6. So I'm trying to just liquidate again. I got into an endgame last time and I won. That's exactly what I'm doing here. Bishop takes, bishop h6. I'm just trying to trade and then play g4. So kind of going for an attack, but also happy to trade. a5, queen to g5, threatening queen takes g6. But a4, very interesting move here. And unfortunately, it doesn't work out because queen takes g6. Knight to e8, very cool move. And the point is, everything's defended and I'm losing a piece. I can't defend anything anymore, because if I play bishop d5, which is the only move that doesn't lose the piece, then they take it and I can't take back because I lose my queen, because this pawn is currently pinned to the king. So I did see this, so I played bishop to d5. And I'm happy to trade off more pieces. And b4, bishop takes c6. I thought this was a really interesting move, b4, because it was followed up by rook to c8, and this all checks out. Same thing with bishop b7. They might even be able to take on c3, but if they wanted to, just rook to c7, and they will be winning back their piece here, as we can see. But okay, I took on g7, king takes g7, and knight d5. And here, I was pretty happy because, okay, if they take on d5, I can just take here, and this has to be better for me. For example, e6, I don't actually lose my piece. I can reroute. It's a little awkward, but it's possible. I can try. But instead, rook takes c6 is the best try, but after knight takes f6, e takes f6, we can see that they actually have a somewhat similar situation to last game, where they have a weakness on d5 and d6. d5 is a weakness because it is a square that is heavily controlled by me in the center of the board, and more importantly, it also prevents them from playing d6, d5, and I can just use this square quite convincingly to gain an advantage. Here I decided to just win a pawn. I know winning a pawn in this position looks a little weird, but it opens lines against my king, but here I'm actually quite happy. I played rook to d2, and queen e3, I should have just played probably just rook to d1. Going into this this position I think is actually good for me, because d6 is simply falling. This has to be winning. However, I was just a little uncomfortable, and I thought, hey, you know what? Why not just go king d1? The whole point is now I can take with the rook, but I thought it was going to be an interesting position. But I don't think this is the right call. There might even still be some rook takes c2 in the air. The whole point is this. And my king's in the center of the board. This is obviously not ideal. But king d1, I was ready to fight. I thought this would be a funny move. As you may know from previous games, I'm fine with making provocative moves as long as I can't find issues with them, as provocative moves makes your opponent want to punish them, and if your opponent can't punish them, they play a little bit more aggressively, and they might make a lot more risks. So this was what I was hoping for, and this is similar to kind of what happened in the game. Rook c4, queen b3, queen c5, and after king c1, rook d4. Now I can get my trade that I so badly wanted with queen to e3, and now we are forcing the trade of pieces. Rook takes d2, queen takes c5, and takes on d2, and I'm up a pawn in a rook endgame. king to d1. I just still find really funny, because it's a move that should not work, and it actually doesn't. But it's something that's a little, it's weird. It's just weird. But it's fascinating. So my opponent plays rook a8, rook a1. I'm gonna have to defend it in an uncomfortable way, but I will play a3, and this pawn is actually kind of a force to be reckoned with here. After rook a1, we see g5. I just played g3. There's no reason to take, because you undouble their pawns, and it might allow counterplay, it might not, but at the same time, just why? Why not just play g3, where they keep their doubled pawns, and they'd still have some weak squares in this area. Imagine a rook on f5, everything is attacked there, but that's a little far away. Anyways, g takes h4, g takes h4, and f5. I think this makes a lot of sense, because they're just trying to trade off one of their weaknesses. So I really respect this move, because after taking, there's king f6. This pawn is just completely lost here. Of course, I don't take. I just play a4. I'm just trying to simply push this pawn to promote it. We see c4, a5. Just keep pushing. King f6, king e3, and the whole point behind this move is if king e5, I want to have f4 here, where I can play e5. Even if they get f6 in, I feel like this should still be beneficial for me because of king d4. But before, if I don't play this and allow king e5, then after king e3, let's just say a6, king e5, there might be some f4. And I'm not saying this is good. I'm just saying, why allow this? Simply why allow this? When king e3 is just a lot more straightforward, it improves the piece. And f takes e4, f takes e4, and king e5. Here, I should have realistically just gone rook f1. This is just winning on the spot. But I went for a6, which I think is still equally winning. I was looking at this move really in depth, because the whole point is I win h5 and a5 is protected. If rook takes a5 here, simply just rook to f5 check. We win the rook, and any other move, king e6 for example, we just go here and we take h5. And when we win h5, we just go back and push, and again we're up 2 pawns, completely winning position. Rook is dominating the board, preventing their king from moving. The rook is stuck on the a file, and things are good here. But I went for a6. I thought this was more appropriate, because I still have these ideas of rook a5, and then I can just move my king out. But again, I still think it was more accurate to go rook f1. Anyways, king to e5. And actually, another thing about rook f1, my opponent actually said, why didn't you play rook f1? I was thinking, yeah, I should have played rook f1. But okay. a6, c3, and I took. And actually in this position, my opponent just resigns. And it makes a lot of sense. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to play a7, rook to a4, king d3, king takes c3, king back to d3, king back to e3, c4, c5, c6, c7, c8, and then promote. It's a pretty straightforward plan, and it's pretty much impossible to stop. The c3 pawn will be lost after b takes c3. There's just no way to reasonably protect it. And counterplay with king f4, g4 is just too slow. That just simply doesn't work. So white is completely winning in this position, and that is why Harrison resigned. Anyways, let's just say next time around it won't be so easy, but I wouldn't say even in the first place it was easy, but it won't be straightforward. I don't like using the term easy when you play against someone. I'm more like, because like this was a very difficult game. This took a lot of energy, but things won't be as like bing bang boom straightforward, I guess, because this was kind of like a do this, do that, and sure, there's some weird moves that I played that I should have been worse, but next time around I really get punished for my play. Anyways, we now improved our streak. I believe this was the 11th win, so we are really just winning a lot of games in a row. That's a lot. But again, as I mentioned, it's not going to be as easy next time around, but we still have 2 more games to this tournament, and well, I'm still hoping to come out on top and win this tournament as well. Let's see if that happens. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.